welcome to our guest lecture. Today is our first guest lecture, and our guest today is Dr. Omar Mukhtar Khan. He's the author of this book, Murree, Once Upon a Time in Murree. I recently had the pleasure of reading this book, and I finished this over a week. I just love this. He's written this book. Not only it's full of history, full of prose, but it also has hundreds of pictures taken by him as personally. Like all the pictures are taken by him, photographed by him. So it shows, he's an author, he's a historian, he is a photographer. He does a lot of development work as well. He has extensive travel experience as well. So he brings in a lot of experience on the table. And my philosophy is that and I decided this in the last time we offered this course, that we should invite people, non-technical people as well, because these people tend to have a lot of mobile app development ideas as well. And I know for sure, reading this book, that he has a lot of mobile app ideas as well. So the idea is to learn from his experience, get inspiration, and also he will be sharing how you as an app developer can think of making those apps that he will talk about. So thank you very much, Omar Saab. We're very happy. We're very glad to have you. So if you like, the floor is yours. You can start from your introduction. By the way, this is recorded and we'll share it to the wider audience on YouTube.
Ji. Thank you, Amir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to some young people at LUMS. I think it's an exciting thing for me to always talk to students. It opens, I think, your own mind if you keep on talking to a bit like younger generation. So yeah, it's an honor for me to talk to all of you here. So I think I can speak on and on, but I think the idea was when I and Amir we didn't know each other before I wrote this book, so that's a disclaimer. So I'm very happy that somebody has actually given me some feedback on how the book went. So so basically, for today's session, the idea is that I'll just take you through the book in the first like 20 to 30 minutes, and then we can a bit like talk about. I had some discussion with Amir beforehand that how to convert this a bit like literary or heritage piece of work into bit like technology supported work, so that अब जब हर बच्चा हर every single person, and I would say there is no class divide in this particular instance for that matter. हर एक के पास मोबाइल है, so how can we better use it uh, for people to explore Murree in specific, but in general as well. It's not about Murree, it's about Nathia Gali, it's about Karachi for that matter, it's about Peshawar, it's about, I would say, Sahiwal for that matter. We have actually heritage in every single district, if I may use that as this lowest denominator. So when people say, I can tell them that Okada, I don't know whether some of you are from Punjab or elsewhere, Sindh or Balochistan, every single district has a lot of heritage. Every single district, at least once, it's worthwhile to go there. And I am always ready to go. So I'll just briefly take you. I know it's not an interactive, I think, session. So
no, it is. It is. Actually, it is.
Okay.
Students will have a lot of questions at the end, right?
No, I'm just. I was just thinking, Amir, during the presentation. So can you see the presentation now?
We can see. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. So I'll just now talk about the book briefly, very briefly. I promise I'll not bore you. But I understand that students cannot interact during this, but I think it's fine. Maybe it will make things a bit complicated. But I'm happy if you want to run it otherwise. So some fun facts: Murree is not a city which you can call, or Murree is not a town you can call that it has like 500 years of history. Murree was always there. There was a ridge, but it was actually 1849 when British developed it as a sanatorium. So what is a sanatorium? Sanatorium is a place where, I mean, it's not, I mean, अब ये बहुत ज़्यादा term इस्तेमाल नहीं होती, but in the days gone by it was used to कि जहाँ पर जो soldiers हैं या बूढ़े लोग हैं या for that mean that you would have heard about TB sanatorium के जो बीमार लोग हैं उनको एक अच्छी जगह पे ले जाके जहाँ पर क्लीन एयर होता था कुछ दिन के लिए उनको रेस्ट दिया जाता था जिससे वो दे यूज्ड टू फील rejuvenated. So Murree was established as a sanatorium for British soldiers as well as families. It originally were grazing lands of the villages all around. Masyari is the main village around Murree. So it used to be the grazing land. And उनसे फिर ब्रिटिश ने ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी एज सच ने ये जमीन खरीदी whether by hook or by crook, but उन्होंने खरीदी और they sold it to British, and then they developed Murree on this ridge, which is a few miles. I don't remember what's the exact length, but it would be, I think, not more than maybe 5 or 6 miles, or the main upper ridge. It used to be the summer capital of Punjab from 1860 to 1876. And 1876, we lost to Shimla because water was scarce at Murree. And there were very few fountains and natural fountains. So Shimla was made the summer capital, and Murree became a bit more idyllic and vacationing spot from there on. In 1890s, अगर आप लोगों में से कोई मरी में इंटरेस्टेड है या मरी से ताल्लुक है या मरी जाता रहा है या डूंगा गली जाता रहा है तो आप में से किसी ने शायद पाइपलाइन ट्रैक देखा होगा तो फिर वो ये मरी से नथिया गली भी जाते हुए रास्ते में आता है तो उधर से फिर 1890s के शुरू में मेरे ख्याल में उधर से पाइपलाइन ट्रैक बिछाया गया और फिर मरी में पानी की प्रॉब्लम किसी हद तक रिजॉल्व हो गई बट देन मरी नेवर कुड गेन इट्स स्टेटस एज समर कैपिटल अगेन. So I will show you in next few slides the first school in Murree, the first hotel in Murree, the first church in Murree, and the water I already talked about that the water was a severe issue in the early years of Murree. So the way I did it in Kosar University a couple of weeks back in Murree and a couple of other book launch events was that I take students or colleagues or people who have been gracious enough to come to that launch. I take them through some pictures of Murree and I ask them what it is, but I don't think I have the luxury of asking that. But for example, this is a beautiful building in
You
Murree.
can, by the way, Umar Saab, you can ask, no problem, no issue.
Yeah, so if anybody can tell me, and I'll not keep you waiting, but if anybody can tell us which building is this. So but I'll tell you in otherwise that this building used to be the to be the residence and office of the general who used to lead East India Company Northern Command at that point. The interesting bit is though this building is within like 1 minute walk from Governor House, which some of you would have seen, within 2 minutes walk of Kashmir Point, which some of you would have seen. But I can almost bet that you wouldn't have seen this building because building is not on the main road. This is just it's a beautiful building with beautiful views all around. So this building is called Fur Hill Cottage. So next time try to find it when you go there. So this building, I obviously would not even challenge you. Anyone who has gone to Murree would have seen this building. This is the Grand Post Office. It was established in 1867. It's a beautiful building. We destroyed it in, I think, 1870s, but now it has been refurbished as per almost the original design. But you can see how cropped I have done this building because above it there are monstrous hotels which totally destroy the view of this building. So this is another point which you should keep in your mind that how our unplanned, unregulated construction is destroying not only Murree, actually every other city which we can talk about. Even Naran is our next target. Babusar Pass would become another Murree very soon. So it's unfortunate. Hunza would probably will have the same fate unless we do something about it. Again, I'll pause for like 15 seconds if anyone can tell me which is this hotel. This is arguably the first hotel in Murree. So
It's written
no.
there
So
on the it's written there on the picture.
yeah, it's yeah, you are very right, Amir Saab, but you have to probably zoom in to see that. So this is Cecil. Cecil used to be the place in Murree. Lord Mountbatten has stayed in this hotel. This hotel has such an fascinating story, and Amir Saab has already, I think, read that story, that how it is linked to Italians, Flatties of the same fame, of the Flatties hotel fame, who was an Italian. This hotel is also linked to Oberoi's, and then there is a whole story of how this hotel became an enemy property in 1965, after 1965 war, and we took it over, we nationalized it, and its decline began from there. And slowly it closed down, I think around 1990s, and now we almost took it down, but since prevailed, and somebody put an heritage act on this particular building, so it is surviving. It's a beautiful building. If any one of you goes to Murree, just try to leave Malur for a few minutes, and you will find this. And Amir Saab has a copy as well. I'm sure I'm willing to donate another couple of copies if there is a place where Amir Saab would suggest me. So another very interesting, I think, story about Murree's story would not be complete if we don't talk about dark bungalows. So these dark bungalows were every 20 or miles away from each other in the mountains. So all around Murree Mountains, Kahuta, and Kotli Satya, as well as wherever the British lived. These rest houses would be after every 20 course or 20 miles. The idea was that you begin your journey in the morning, and on the horse, followed by camp followers, and the Sahab will reach the rest house in the evening, and then he would stay there. He would look into the forest, whether forest is doing fine or whatever his purpose was. And these rest houses were also used to take dark by dark, I mean post. And so it was used for many other purposes. The other variant is canal bungalows all over Punjab and Colonial canal districts in Punjab, as well as I think Sindh and wherever there were canals constructed. So the most interesting and fascinating feature about these bungalows, or besides the horror stories or stories like that, and I've actually read those stories in the visitors book. The visitors books are very interesting reads. Most of these visitors books, almost every rest house would have that visitors book, and that visitor books would go back to 1890s or whenever that rest house. So we are slowly losing those visitors book, but still I'm able to find them in a lot of places. So you would find, people like Ayub Khan, Imran Khan, Nawaz Sharif, I mean, you name it, any. And it's such an, and these are, I think, I would say politicians or celebrities or presidents, but there are other many interesting stories you will find in these visitors books, and I always am like fascinated when I start reading through these. So there are many of them. I've mentioned some of them in the book, and I mean, if you are interested, you should probably visit some of these. Again, the oldest house in Murree. Now look at it. It's so grand. It's so grand. But yeah, and again, I will not put you into trouble of like because it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult catch. It's Nutwood House. It was constructed in 1851. It was originally owned by Murree Brewery. Then Murree Brewery handed over to Freemasons. And my task to you, Amir, your class would be that they should today read about Freemasons, though who were Freemasons, if they don't know about it. It's an interesting cult. So, and very secretive cult. And so Murree Brewery handed over to Freemasons, and ultimately it became part of Presentation Convent Murree. And currently it's part of the Presentation Convent Murree, which is different from Convent of Jesus and Mary in Murree. So it's again a beautiful building. Then this is again, now Amir will say that again it's written there, but so I will not challenge you on that. But this is Convent of Jesus and Mary, 1876. Again, a lot of history, a lot of I think important politicians, important celebrities, artists went to Convent of Jesus and Mary in Murree, and it used to be an elite school. It closed its boarding school because of all this extremism in 2007, but I think a place worth visiting few. So there is an entry on this. When I went there, I requested an admission register. I knew that some people were there in the school. So I took out 18. So I'll give you some clues. This is 1964, and I'm sure you cannot read it. This is 1964, and one of our politicians went there and stayed there for 1.5 years, and one of our leading politicians. So any guesses? So I'll go on. So this is Benazir Bhutto. You can actually see the name right here. It's written BE and dash and Nazir. So which is strange actually. Benazir should have been written differently. And just above her name is Sanam Bhutto. So they lived there they were in the school from April 1964 to November 1965. So when the 1965 war was happening, the two girls, the two Bhuttos were in this particular school. And interestingly, Benazir's autobiography mentions very lovingly about her school. So I don't know how I go back. So another very interesting structure, ruins. These are ruins of Murree Brewery. So the Murree Brewery was, as Amir also mentioned, I think somewhere on Facebook a few days back, that and I've written this book. This is my guess, and I'm happy to be corrected on that. I actually read it somewhere, so it's not purely my guess, that it's the oldest surviving enterprise in Pakistan for sure. And imagine that it's a brewery. So it's funny. But Murree Brewery has now shifted to Rawalpindi, Pindi Kent. It's right next to the Army House. But these are beautiful ruins of Murree Brewery, right a bit like before. It's a village called Nambal, just about like 15 to 20 minutes drive from Murree. Towards Islamabad, and beautiful ruins. So one interesting personal story with Murree Brewery is, Amir, don't worry, I'm not talking about any personal story. So the one personal story is that when I went there like 10 years back, I didn't know what it was. And there was a big plaque on the front saying Murree Brewery Limited 1860. And when I went there again, like 1 year back, that somebody had taken that plaque. So I was a bit sad about it, but that's how life is. Slowly we don't care about our heritage, and slowly we'll lose it. And another not a very interesting story is that I was at the Kosar University, and the vice chancellor told me that this actually these ruins have been um, allocated to Kosar University for Kosar University for constructing their new campus. Actually, this place, and I was like, that come on, I mean, can't we find another place? So another view of these are beautiful and expensive ruins. So you should try visiting it sometime whenever you guys get a time. I'm sure, but Amir, give me an address, and I'll definitely send a book to the Lumps library. Rather, I can
Okay,
probably send
yeah,
it.
we can do a few things. The top three students in the course, will probably I'll send you their addresses. You can choose to send it to top two or top one, top student of the class, and
Done.
one to the Lums
Done.
library. I can connect you to
One
the
more
Lums
thing,
library as well.
one more thing, Amir, on a promise. I mean, I know this is not like a bestseller or anything. On a promise that they were at least once they will go to Murree and use this book. If
Right, right.
they promise this me, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. So this is again beautiful. I mean, Murree is so full of these beautiful nuggets, I would say, and pieces spread all over. So, guys, when I was doing my research, frankly, when I started it, I had no idea what I will found. And when I do get a bit, frankly, carried away by these things, but this is a beautiful chapel inside out. And this is the chapel of Lawrence College, Murree. I mean, you just walk and you take a turn, and this thing is in front of you. And you are just like, you are all overawed by such structure. And these are all over Murree. I have not used many of these pictures. This is again the main signature building of Lawrence College, built in 1860. I've put a whole history of this college. The 1954 government house, you many of you must have seen it. It's on the northern end of Murree. Beautiful cottage somewhere near the northern. So Murree is basically a ridge from north to south. So you can actually start from north exploring Murree, and you can just start keeping. I mean, you cannot do it in one day, but in like 2 or 3 days, I think you can pretty much do it. At least the main Murree part. So the main Holy 1857 Holy Trinity Church, it's amazing from inside. This is a picture from outside, and I had never visited it until I started writing this book. And it's right on the mall. And we never care to look around. We are more interested normally in looking at shops and probably chicken kadai and something like that, or whatever. Lintorts. Yeah, Lintorts is great actually. So again, I mean, one interesting feature is whenever you go to any European school, even in Murree, and I'm pretty sure elsewhere, anywhere in Pakistan, Lahore convent or Sialkot convent or Karachi, I'm sure there are like St. Mary's and everything. You will find a typical piano. Do start try to see where it has come from. So there used to be Calcutta, Lahore, Murree. I mean, there would be company and London. So they would still have their logos on these pianos. Always fascinating to see them. Again, so I've used a caption alcohol in the teapot. So when Pakistan established in 1947, after that, slowly, I mean, the culture started changing. So, but people still were a bit like more liberal towards alcohol and everything. So, what they started doing was that they would start serving alcohol in the teapots. So I've used that particular phrase, which I read somewhere. Again, a very beautiful, when you go towards Bhurban, there is a 1956 Murree Christian School. Unfortunately, it was attacked, I think in 2003, but fortunately no student was hurt. But this is again a very beautiful school, just on your way to Bhurban. Hacton House, these are cottages spread all around Murree. Beautiful. I have mentioned this one in particular because this used to be until recently, if I am not wrong, Indian embassy in Murree. So I just walked in, and then there were people. There were staring eyes to looking at me from all across. There are like various um, I mean, I would say observation posts around this particular house. So that was funny that people were asking, what are you doing here? What are you? People actually don't accept that you are interested in heritage, you are interested in landscape, you are just interested in looking at buildings. People just are at times, they think, why would anybody would be interested in looking at heritage? Again, another very interesting cottage. This was also owned by Freemasons at some point in time. One of the windows I couldn't stop in the one of the churches. Beautiful stained windows. of one of the, I think this is St. Margaret's, just below the mall. And this is a very interesting structure. So these are called tree towers. So these are left. Very few of them are left now in Murree Kahuta area. The purpose was that from the top you can watch if there is a fire anywhere, if the wood is being stolen anywhere. But now they are seldom used. So these are very few of them close to Murree. But I always find interesting to climb over them and sit there. It gives you a beautiful view of all around. So one of my last slides, I think one of the slides I love, I took it, and there's a Crore village near in Kotli Satya. I love it. I love there's a man inside this, and there's a sunset, and there are mountains all around, and I love this. And somehow I think I also related to Murree, the way the Murree saw its climax. But now more and more of us are moving away from Murree because we think that Murree doesn't have. Actually, Murree has a lot to offer, but somehow it has shifted from our radar because of unregulated growth and everything. So last thing, this is my book, which took me like probably 4 or 5 years to write. I started in October 2015. I will not say that the research took so long. I think part of it was my laziness, but I do think that it took a lot of effort on my part to reach something which I think I'm proud of. Yeah. So yeah, so that's it, guys. I hope I have not bored you. But I can go on, and there are so many stories. I like when it's more a bit like physical interaction. But yeah, so that's all from me, Amir, and I'm happy to discuss to move to the next step. And I'm bang on 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My first question is, where do you think we as app developer can help?
So I think correct me, Amir, if I'm I think I understand that all of the students here right now, they are more into um, these Android and I mean I'm not a technology guy, so pardon me if I make some lame comment, but you guys make apps for where to solve various problems, right?
Right, yeah. Actually, the class is actually, all the students are determined to make mobile apps as a part-time or full-time career. So we are inspired by apps like Kareem or Food Panda, and we want to like start in the beginning. Our apps will be simple, small apps, not like huge apps like Kareem or Food Panda. But eventually, this is a passion of everyone in the class, including myself. I am a big app guy as well, right? So I mean, I saw geotags with every picture in your book, right? And that's where I thought, that can anybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
where, yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's where I thought, it would be nice to have an app, mobile app, which could, guide you when once you are in Murree. It would be great to have an app that can guide you to which architectural building you want to see, right? Whether you are on foot, on car, it can, just like Google Map, it can have all these geolocation. So this could be a standalone separate app, or this could be done within Google Apps, right? If there's you provide a service on top of Google Apps, right? And that's just one crude idea, one idea. But I believe you can do a lot more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Amir, and yeah, thank you for introducing me as a non-techie person. I'm always a bit like careful going to a technology session. So, so yeah, so Amir, what I did was when I was doing this book, I also started like putting geocodes of every particular heritage or point of interest in the book, and you would have seen that I've mentioned that geocode. I think it was a first step for me because when I was trying to explore some of these buildings, it was very difficult for me. At times, I will pass like 5 times from a place, and I would not be able to pinpoint that where that particular building is, where that particular hotel is, where that particular church is, where that particular school is. So that was my problem. So what I started doing, that when I started was able to locate these buildings, I started putting a geocode on on these buildings. So my idea, the idea in my mind was that when somebody else will go, they can actually type that, copy paste that geocode in their Google Maps, and they can actually then find their way to that particular place. But with time, what started intriguing me was that if there can be an application where, actually all of these places are present in the app, and if you go to Murree, you just sign in into a Murree application, and then it automatically tells you that 300 meters from you is General Post Office, and 500 meters to in that direction on the backed by Google Maps, and 500 meters in that direction is Holy Trinity Church. And then when you click that point one, it takes you to that particular place. Two, it gives you a brief history, just like 5 bullet points, that what this building is about, and maybe its opening and closing times, and some sort of information. So I just thought that, because and this is a real life, I would tell you a real life case, and this is me. When I I'm when I would have gone to Murree every single year in my life, and when I started exploring Murree, whenever we will go, we will walk on the Mall Road, we will go to the Kashmir Point, and that would be it. We never knew what is available, like, even I would say 1 minute off the main road, and I
Right.
had no clue. And when I started doing that research, I was amazed of my ignorance, frankly, that how less I know about Murree, despite going to Murree like probably more than 40 times in my life. I'm just using, I'm 48 now, so I'm just using, probably I would have gone at least once every year, and maybe more than that. So that was the point. So that is where, when I felt that there should be some, book is one. You can read the book and you can try, there are very good maps in the book, and you can try to stroll around using that book. But then who uses book, frankly? It's my love, but I understand that people now don't read books. So I have to adapt to people rather than trying to make them adapt to myself, right? So if I can make an application, and I would be happy if your class can think about it, where people can just move around in a very user friendly using that app, and they can exactly know that this is another interesting heritage point, and which we can see, and it can take you from areas to areas. The book is divided into north, the heart of Murree, the south, suburbs, miscellaneous, there are graveyards, there's everything. That is something where I think if we are able to develop something on those lines. But I would be happy to listen to any students if they have seen anything like this, or
Okay.
what
Right. Right.
do they think of this idea. Thank you.
By the way, a lot of students have some questions they've written on the chat as well. So in a while, all the students will participate. I mean, this is going to get really, really interesting. I have a lot of questions about your talk, and I will probably be quiet and let students ask a lot of questions. And by the way, I can tell you one thing. At the end of this course, all the students are required to do and make an app to pass this course, right? And it's mandatory, right? And I am inviting all the students to choose this project that you have just described. And I am willing to give you 5 extra marks. There's like around 50 marks. I'm willing to give 5 extra marks just for attempting this app idea. And I would ideally want that person or team. Usually the project is done as in a group of for 3-4 people, right? And I would want those people to collaborate with Mr. Omar Khan and sort of make an app for his a book and sort of make it a collaborative effort, right? And take his input as well and make it available. And sort of this app could be a guidance, a companion to this book, as well as can later on add more features as well. But in the beginning, just as Mr. Umar has described, it can be a companion to this book. Sort of wherever you are, it can tell you 200 meters to your right is this building and this is a picture. And sort of you can make social features on top of it, like, through your Facebook Connect, you can tell, Mr. Amir from your friends has visited this place three months ago, right? Something like that. And you can just, once you make it successful in Murree, right? You can then, as Mr. Omar, I hope, will write books about Karachi and Lahore and other places, you can add on that and make a universal app. It's going to be a long-term project, but I think app development, and that's what I want to teach my students as well. One of my most famous app is the stock market app, and I have built that over 5 years, right? So just like this book was written over 5 years, so any meaningful contribution takes years and time and patience. You have to like nurture it over time. So this is one beautiful project that I can propose, and I'm sure students and younger generation is generally smarter. They're more tech savvy, even from my generation, right? Let alone Mr. Omar's generation. Even younger people have a lot more ideas because they were born and raised on these mobile apps, right? So I'm sure students will give a lot of ideas as well. So I just want to open the floor for all the students to take this great opportunity to ask those questions. I think we already have a couple of questions. There was a question from Sayyida Fatma Zadi. Can you? Fatma, can you ask this question yourself?
Assalamualaikum. My question was, when you were talking about the rest houses that had the horror stories and the books. So I was wondering if the rest houses were still functioning. Like, do the people, can the people still stay there?
Thank you, Fatma. Fatma, yes, most of these rest houses are functioning. Actually, I mean, previously it was more controlled by the government, the forest department in Punjab or KP. But in the recent years, especially government of KP has started a bit like outsourcing these forest rest houses. So they have improved a lot. Because the private partner has like really refurbished these rest houses without touching, I think, the basic structures. So yes, most of them are available. So I use most of them whenever, even with my family, I would use using the probably asking somebody in government and trying to book it. Which is a hassle, but normally yes, these rest houses are open, and now more and more are being um, outsourced in a way.
And just to add one
Thank
more
you.
thing, this can be a revenue making opportunity for those app developers. Once you have users using your app for the historical buildings, you can also like refer them to those rest houses and get a referral commission, right? So that's, you can build on those ideas, right? So I thought I should just add that as well. Yeah.
Really agree.
Okay. I would encourage all these students to ask questions about the book, about the talk, about the technical apps, or if you have any other ideas around Murree, if you have any comment about any memory of Murree to share, please feel free to contribute. Yeah.
I have an idea. Like, it's more of a brainstorm rather than an idea. But in the app, uh, what if like we connect the people visiting with the locals that have stayed there since the beginning, and like that would have more exposure, and you could visit Murree from the perspective of a local.
So Fatma, I think this is an excellent idea. I was at a talk at Kosar University, which is a newly established university in Murree. Its current campus is next to Kashmir Point. So, I mean, you'd be amazed how many intelligent, how bright students you find at all these places. And I completely can see that if there is a collaboration between some technology people and that Kosa University students, and maybe you guys can help them, and there can be, I mean, they do a weekly, I mean, weekend kind of tours of Murree, and taking people all around, and it would, I think it would generate employment. They would be local, they would have better access to places, they would be more welcome. So actually it's a very nice idea, and I completely agree with you that involving the local people into, and when you have now a university in which I could see in a lot of actually girl students, and very active girl students as well as boys, I would say. So why not? Yeah, I this is a brilliant idea, I would say. Thank you.
Right. But and by the way, just my out of curiosity, do you think like locals are like I don't want to sound like like those obnoxious colonizers. I'm just curious. Are these locals educated, sufficiently interested in, and are they like are there sufficient skilled people who can help in such kind of operation?
The equally straight answer would be probably no. I mean, that's the challenge, I would say. I think this new Kosa University is just beginning to work in that direction. I mean, there are people who the single motive they have is commercial, and you will see monstrosities now in Murree, like 6 or 7 or 8 stories building, blocking your view, constructed precariously. I would not stay a night in those hotels. I mean, they are there for a long time, but without any aesthetics. And we are partly to blame when we have not regulated, government has not regulated it when it can be. Now it's very difficult to reverse whatever has been done, but I still think that we can stop where we are today. So yes, I share your concern, but I do think that, for example, if you ask me one partner, I think Kosa University is can be one partner in that particular, where we can do a humble beginning. I know a couple of families who who are basically from elsewhere. I mean, Lahore or somewhere else, but they have summer homes in Murree, and they are actually doing a lot of good welfare work in terms of doing art residencies where they invite people to come over and do some Murree sceneries there, and that kind of like positive kind of work. So yeah, there are people who are still trying to save whatever we can of Murree. Thank you.
Yeah, there are like three hands raised, so there's a lot of excitement, a lot of questions. So I'll start from Muaz. Why don't you ask your question?
Sir, I actually have an app idea relevant to what Mr. Umar just said. So I was thinking of making a digital sort of travel journal, the objective of which would be to collect information about the historical underrated sort of places throughout cities like Murree or Lahore or even Peshawar. Peshawar has a really good history as well. And maybe like further on, we could collaborate with travel companies to sort of introduce all those places to the people, and maybe diversify all the traffic that goes to Murree every year. Maybe Mall Road or Kashmir Point के बजाय बाकी places पे भी लोगों को familiarize किया जाए, ताकि थोड़ी सी traffic भी control हो और exposure भी थोड़ा सा लोगों का हो. Like, sir, Umar, could you like tell how many places did you write about in your book in Murree? क्योंकि हमें तो सिर्फ mostly, as you said, main road और Kashmir Point का ही पता.
That was a trick question, Moaz, because I think I'll have to count really, but I think I'm not sure about the number, but I think
I
in
can
terms
answer.
of
I can answer
points
that
of
question.
Ji, Ahmed, please
There are about
help me.
100 buildings that I talked about. There are 100 chapters of 2 or 3 pages. So there are like 100 buildings. I sort of ballpark number. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a fair, I would say, estimate. Yeah, I would agree that something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
but I like your idea. I think because you guys are the technology guys, what Amir mentioned, that there can be so many diverse ideas around it, that not about heritage, then about hotels, that I mean, somehow you put in hotels. I mean, that may make it a revenue application, that you can book hotels, and there are like, I mean, you can tell people about traffic, you can tell people about restaurants using the same app. So yeah, there can be many functionalities.
right, Malik, please ask your question.
Thank you, sir. So just a question that how easy those places are accessible? Like, is there any public transport facility, or to visit those places are really headache? How would you say that?
So, Amir, my book is divided into, I think, 4 sections: North, Heart, South. Then there is a miscellaneous section, and there is another section, Suburbs. Only for suburbs, you need probably to own a vehicle, or you need to hire a vehicle. All other, I would gather that you guys are younger than me, that if I can walk, then you guys can walk, and you guys should walk to all those places. So these are very close by. I think within no place would be, I think, more than, if you go from one end to the other end of Murree, it would take barely, I would say, something like probably 30 to 45 minutes, not more than that. Yeah. So these places are not very far from each other. So you should actually just walk to see them. Yeah.
So just to add one more thing, is cycling easy? Like to visit those places through cycling? Can we do that?
Uh, Ali, I'm not a cyclist, and I should be ashamed of that. But I am pretty sure that cycling is pretty doable in Murree. These mountain bikes and everything. I mean, many places are actually have a very smooth gradient, but on the ridge. But even if there are places on the slopes, I think you can easily cycle down and cycle up. Yeah, there shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so just wanted to confirm, because there is already an existing app in like Europe where we can visit some most famous places through cycling. So that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I am pretty
Do they cover
sure.
Pakistan and Murree as well? Is that app available for Pakistan as well?
I'm not sure, but I can search for that.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Raza का भी हाथ खड़ा है.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम उमर साहब, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि कंसिडरिंग कि आपने काफ़ी सारी हेरिटेज साइट्स विजिट की हैं, तो आपको गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कोई उसमें नज़र आ रही है कोई नई रिन्यूड एफर्ट या नया रिन्यूड इंटरेस्ट उनको मेंटेन करने के लिए? और दूसरा, जब आप अपनी बुक रिसर्च कर रहे थे तो आपको कोई गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट मिली थी इन द फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट आर्काइव्स और ये चीज़ें, जिससे आपकी रिसर्च बेहतर हुई है या इस तरह की चीज़ें?
So Raza, second question first. I think I got decent support from, but that was on a personal level. That was not like a systemic support, I would say. That was more of like personal support के किसी को कहा, फिर AC मरी के साथ contact किया, he helped me out. So that in that way, yes, government helped, but on a personal level, not at a systemic level. And this is an important point I'm making, because हमारे मुल्क में कई दफा गवर्नमेंट उस तरह सपोर्ट नहीं करती हैं आपको. मतलब ये नहीं है कि मैंने किसी को लेटर लिखा और आ गया वो आई न्यू आमिर न्यू रजा. So that's the way it worked. So I did faced a lot of access issues. For example, मैं आपको एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल दूं तो similarly I asked AC मरी, उन्होंने किसी को कहा, उन्होंने अपने तहसीलदार को कहा, तहसीलदार ने किसी और को कहा, नायब तहसीलदार को. वो मुझे सेंट डेनिस के गेट पे मिला, उसने कहा जी मेरी बात हो गई है. सेंट डेनिस के बाहर एक गार्ड साहब थे, उन्होंने मुझे 1 मिनट के लिए अंदर जाने दिया अपने साथ और कहा कोई तस्वीर आप नहीं ले सकते. मेन रोड के ऊपर थोड़ा सा आगे लेके गया, जी बस इतना ही इजाजत है हमें. एंड आई केम बैक. So I couldn't really see the school, and for good reasons maybe. कि वो सारे जो अब extremism के issues and people are a bit like, और खास तौर पे these missionary schools are a bit careful. But then when I was doing this talk in Kosar University last a couple of weeks back, वहाँ पर सेंट डेनिस की प्रिंसिपल भी बैठी थी. उन्होंने she actually felt a bit like left behind कि आपने सेंट डेनिस. मैंने कहा नहीं मैडम बिल्कुल कवर की है प्रेजेंटेशन में. फिर वो मुझे साथ लेके गई सेंट डेनिस. फिर उन्होंने मुझे एक एक जगह दिखाई, एक एक चर्च दिखाया, पुराने स्कूल क्लासरूम्स. Unfortunately, उधर एक fire, there was a fire a few years back which burnt a lot of their record. But that was the difference. That this book is also opening Murree for me. कि वो जो पहले रिलक्टेंस होती है लोगों की, वो अब उनको लगता है नहीं दिस इज सीरियस बिजनेस, सो दे वांट टू बी reflected in this book. So yeah, so if there is another edition anytime soon, I don't know, but if there is, I think it would be much more rich.
It would nice to have that app, mobile app companion go with the second edition, right?
जी 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 जी.
Yeah, I'm already getting excited. Umar, आपका भी हाथ खड़ा है. Do you want to ask? Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. I had a question that, sir, these buildings being historic, why aren't they open to the general public?
That's a very good question. That's a very valid question.
Well, that's a very good question, and that's a $100 million question. The answer to which probably Amir knows better than me. I would wish it is true, Omar. I was in Fort Bala Hisar, if anyone of you is from Peshawar. It's such a beautiful building, and I met the IGFC there, the main guy, and I requested him that if he can open it in some way for the general public. But coming back to Murree, I completely agree with you that I mean, unfortunately, Umar, what has happened, especially in last 20 years, this a bit like security threat has really become a bit like enormous. Luckily, things are improving, but that is also one reason that for example, Convent of Jesus and Mary closed its boarding school about 15 years back. There was actually an attack on Murree Christian School, but nevertheless, I think government should make a plan for it. Why can't we allow families for that matter? I mean, what are the chances that there can be families like that? I mean, I think there can be a solution to it. That's the point. I'm not 100% sure what that solution can be, but otherwise I completely agree with your point that these places should be open to people, and that's the point of it.
And if I may add one thing, this weekend I'm in Karachi. First time I went to see that Mukhtar Palace, right? And it was the best experience of my life. I went there, they were charging 30 rupees per person to enter, and I was glad to pay that. I mean, even if they said 200 rupees, I would have paid 200 rupees as well. And I went inside. It's the most beautiful house I've seen in my life. It's like 3-4 acres, and to think that there was a guy who built that as a summer house, I was just, it's one of the best houses I've seen in Pakistan, and I've been around, right? And to know that that house belonged to Mr. Mukhtar, a Hindu, and we try to erase our history, like these Christian schools and all that. There's a lot of diversity, and and when you try to suppress and when we restrict access to those places, right? We try to suppress part of our history, right? It's in a way sort of by coercion we are forced into thinking in a narrow way, right? So, but the reason I'm mentioning this is that this is possible. The way they have made Mukhtar Palace, and the point is, if they want to, they can really make it happen. Mukhtar Palace is very well maintained. Inside there's a souvenir shop. I bought a couple of things from there as well. I think that model should be applied to a lot of those places, and they can be guided towards as well. Pakistan, although there's a lot of poverty around, but there's a significant number of affluent, affording people as well who would like to, like they say nowadays, and Mr. Umar would agree with me, people have made Turkey a Murree. Turkey is a new Murree. A lot of middle class, upper middle class, affluent people are going to Murree. Thousands of people are going. I know Like a lot of my friends go there. So, if people can spend so much money going to Murree and other places, like, if there are good guided tours where they're provided those same facilities and all good experience, a lot of people would opt for that, right? So I agree. There's some effort should be made, but I think one should not raise their expectations too high that these operations will be very, very profitable, but they can sustain, they can create hundreds and thousands of employment. They can sustain themselves. If they won't be profitable, they'll create a healthy activity and healthy interaction with the people and all that. So that was my 2 cents on the topic. So I'm happy. I mean, I want more people to continue asking these questions, and I hope Mr. Umar has some time, right? Yeah. So he has some time. So please continue your questions.
So
I'm always happy to.
best time to visit Murree?
So Ali, that's again a very interesting question. Depends whether you are advising an enemy or whether you are advising a friend. So if you are advising an enemy, you should tell him to go to Murree on 14th August, on Eid holidays, or any such, on weekends in summer. But if a friend is asking you, you should actually tell him, I think starting from, the time I visit Murree is from February to, I think, early May. And then from, I would say, September, mid-September to November or something like that. So try to avoid the rush seasons, and then you will enjoy Murree. You will really enjoy Murree if you try to avoid that kind of peak summer or December and January. The problem in December and January, the added problem is that when snowfall, unfortunately, our municipal services are not good enough to remove snow, and then you can get stuck. So I normally don't advise people to go to Murree during snowfall, although a lot of people are attracted by it.
Is it? I've also seen a few videos on scary videos especially in the winters. Cars are sliding, and is it like a really? Is it like a safety concern? Are there ways to manage that? Especially like you mentioned, if the municipal committee clears the road with ice, is it safe then? If that is made an SOP is followed strictly.
I think the other issue, Amir, are that we have no traffic management plans. I think snowfall is everywhere. One thing is that municipal services should be there and they should be cleaning. But the other thing is there's so much traffic that cars just get stuck over there on routes. People don't listen. So, I would prefer that. There can always be a solution, and there should be a solution. But normally, up till now, I have not seen that implemented in the context of Murree or in the wider context of Pakistan. Yeah.
So Fatma ka ek aur question hai. Ji, please.
Sir, you mentioned about the Mohota Palace and the rich history. I got an idea that, like, this for the app that you guys are talking about for Murree, we could they could be like we could offer to provide uh, uh, local people who show the visitors around to because in the application you can only provide that much information, and people don't like to read that much, especially when you are on a vacation or something. So we could provide we could collaborate with the local and ask them to show the visitors around. Like even in Lahore, the history is so rich, but I've been here for like 10 years, and I and even and the and I still don't know the whole history of it. Like you can the the specific things of it.
So, Fatma, I would like to take a stab on it, but I think about the history of Lahore. I think uh, a few generations or few lives would be needed to cover the history of Lahore. No one out of us can know about Lahore. But your point, made me think about another thing which I have seen abroad, and some of you would have enjoyed that there are actually applications or there are actually gadgets in when you visit, for example, museums outside, and the same can happen in Murree, that you reach the church and you tap there, and they tell you what exactly the history of this church, right? And then you move to your next school or next villa or hotel, and then the app should tell you, okay, this is, you are at Cecil, and you click it, and then it tells you very briefly about a voiceover that Cecil Hotel was constructed in 1850. Lord Mountbatten lived here. It used to be whatever. I mean, so it can give you a very crisp or like a 1 minute history on that particular place. So that is an idea which is, I mean, that's would be the next level. But I think these things are already happening around the world. Yeah.
And one thing you can
Thank
add, one thing is nowadays artificial intelligence, machine learning is so powerful. It's easily doable that you should be able to take a picture of a building, and the app should tell you from just looking at the camera that this is Cecil Hotel Murree, right? Or this is Murree Christian Hotel, or this is Taj Mahal, or this is like Minar Pakistan. So this is possible as well. And I think within the scope of this course, this can be done. And so there are like, and I'm sure, and I will make it a point that at least one of the groups takes up this app, and I'm sure this will happen. Right. So Taha ka haath khada hai.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to ask, you said कि we can't go in there, और अगर कोई वहाँ पे interaction इस तरह की नहीं है, तो why would people go and visit those places? कि अगर आपने बाहर से देखना है तो. Also,
Right.
second question ये है कि इस वक्त तक they are still here because of no visitors. मतलब कि अगर अभी तक वहाँ पे visitors होते तो शायद probably वो अब तक खत्म हो चुकी होती है, destroy हो चुकी होती. तो मतलब अगर हम ये करेंगे तो इससे तो हम अपनी जो valuable history है उसको destroy कर रहे हैं अपनी.
So Taha, this is about awareness. I think I get your point. I mean, Murree, by the way, is the most visited place in Pakistan. I mean, if you take some sort of a square meter footprint, tourist footprint kind of thing, there's no other place in Murree, but these places are still surviving. But these are surviving because of your second point, that people don't go there. so I agree, but Taha, that's the challenge. I mean, we have to create that awareness, and we have to talk about it. We have to tell people. I mean, I have seen on inscriptions, Buddha inscriptions, people have written Pakistan Zindabad. Now you cannot disagree with Pakistan Zindabad, that is not the place to write with a spray paint that on a Buddha inscription. So you are right that people can write their mobile numbers on the walls of that ancient church, but that's the battle we have to fight collectively as people. This is our heritage. We have to create that awareness. I know it's easier said than done, but is there any other way? I mean, I don't agree to the way that we should just lock these places down to save them. Even that is not the point, right? So yeah, so I would say that advocacy, constant awareness, telling people what's right. And even when we start doing it, I mean, why people are, I mean, I know many people still break the speed limit on motorway. Why people are a bit careful comparative than to, because they know that they will be hurt, there would be consequences to whatever. So I do think that it's a carrot and stick kind of thing, that, and I mean, I would rather want people to see it, and then people don't see it and we save it for what? Yeah, thank you.
Ji, Malik ka haath khada hai.
Yes, sir. Just a suggestion, like, would Pakistani people be able to digest the idea of virtual app that they could marry some very famous places of Murree through a virtual app, like it's a completely on mobile experience or on laptop experience. Would that be digestible right now?
So Ali, the way I see it is that basically it's about it's really about the virtual app would help them a bit go for the physical interaction as well. I'm not saying that they will just look at it on their phone and they will think that they have seen Murree. I mean that can be another idea as well. But generally, I think of this app as helping people to explore Murree. So that would be my bet, rather than just calling it a virtual tour thing or virtual tour of Murree kind of thing.
I have one question myself as well. And I was just waiting for the students to complete their. I have a lot of questions, but I will ask a few. I read in your book, and your book actually made, original contribution to my understanding of colonial society. And I read it as a historian as well. My interest is in historian, old architecture, heritage, and as a colonial history as well. How did the British rule us, and what's the legacy that left us, and how much of Pakistan is a reflection of that history, right? And I read in your book that during that time, especially earlier, only Europeans were allowed on the Mall Road. Even, British lower ranks were not allowed, and natives were definitely not allowed on the Mall Road, right? And that to me is of course, now we know this is classism, this is racism, this is unacceptable in the modern world, right? But my question is, and I don't know, my impression is, have you been in Pakistani civil services? You're part of, you are civil servant, right? Or you were civil servant, right? Right. So I mean, by the way, your mic is off. Your mic is off. My question is,
Sorry.
when I look at our society now, in the way our government ruling structure works, you have civil servants, and they, like, at times they, they're much of that we see that it's same legacy of those European institutions. Our structure is the same. ACs, police, pretty much they are governed by the same law, same rules, and everything, right? And there's an impression that these ruling classes, they sort of see the masses from the same prism, from the same mindset that Europeans used to view natives as well. So, I mean, from your understanding, is it like, am I right in reading it like that? Because it's so much of, it's in a way, it's a continuation of that sort of that classism, that sort of that mindset of us versus them.
Gee, Amir, I think a very pertinent question. I think you're right. I think that classism continued post 1947 in one way or the other. But I also think that it was part of every institution which we inherited. I don't want to talk about specific institutions, but I think every institution had it, and because it had so many benefits for that particular institution, that they refused to let it go. And you are right that British were kind of rulers here, right? Now we don't need rulers, we need managers of public services. I mean, so I think that shift is coming. It's very slow. I think there could have been it could have been much faster, but it's slow. I think media has changed a lot of it, but I still think that it's not where it should have been. It's very slow. It's evolving, but it should have evolved much faster than now. If you go, for example, to UK, from where we have inherited our so-called all of our systems, just compare it. I tell you, very interesting. I'm not sure about, so don't hold me to account if I'm wrong. But somebody told me, a British friend, that basically in UK there are probably four civil servants who own official residences, which are Foreign Secretary, I think Treasury, Secretary Treasury, Home Secretary, and there is one more. I mean, four or maybe, I mean, it would be 8 or it may maybe 18, but not thousands, right? So they have shifted. I mean, they have, for example, there is a concept of monetization of, I mean, giving living salaries, livable wages, not private sector wages, but livable wages to civil servants or whatever. But we have probably not progressed, and we don't want it in that way. And so yeah, that's totally another topic: civil service reform, or for that matter, institution reform all over Pakistan. But that doesn't suit who is going to reform? So who will bell
Right.
the cat kind of thing?
I had that
Yeah.
question. So you know, like, and also, you know, a related question. Since from your book, I got to know that British were those people were who actually made Murree what it is. You know, they sort of populated it, and it was Murree was started by them, and for like 50 years, it was predominantly a European city, right? And there must be a lot of guys in Europe, UK, whose parents and grandparents had lived for a long time in Murree. Have you and have you surveyed the literature? Are there mentions of their lives and their in books around the world in the literature? And I think there must be a lot of mention of all that time as well. So do you have anything to say on that?
Unfortunately, Amir, I have done this kind of research earlier in my different works while working on different stories, colonial stories on different topics. But on this particular issue, I did not do a lot of things in terms of the people and their descendants now. But that can be a very interesting topic. I completely agree. For example, I'll give you just one example. There was this Durand line guy. So his father was basically he died in Tank, and he's buried in DI Khan, the father Durand. The son Durand went on to, and the father Durand was Governor Punjab, and NWFP or KP was part of Punjab at that point in time. The son Durand made this Durand line, and then in the later years he went back and died in London. So it would be good to see what they're like 3 generations after, what they are doing, and where are they, and that kind of thing. But that needs, I think, probably another another research project. So maybe, but it's a very interesting idea.
So I think there are a couple of PhDs that can be done in those topics at universities like Punjab University, you know, like, and those would be very, very interesting sort of.
So if you find me a PhD on this thing and you give at LUM, I'll probably take it up.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I have one more question. You know, a lot of those, you know, your book is, and I agree. We've talked about it already. That, you know, book is one medium, and I disagree with you that people don't read books. I think a lot of people read books in Pakistan. Look at the sales of Liberty Books, readings, and the rush there all the time. And there are a couple of books groups at Facebook which are active all the time. A lot of people read books. I think. This is not fair to say people don't read books. So I read it. I read books.
So Amir will have a separate discussion on this. I think because you are from Karachi. In Karachi, Liberty Books, people do read books. I agree. I have lived in Karachi for a while. I agree that in Karachi there is a difference. But I think as you go north, the thing become a bit less interesting.
Okay.
But let's. I mean, this is a different debate. But
Okay.
this is the first thing which my publisher told me. Frankly, he said, and I would be very frank. उमर साहब इधर लोग उर्दू की किताब नहीं पढ़ते, अंग्रेजी की किसमें पढ़नी? And it was Sange Mail, I would say. But
so
yeah.
Is he right? I mean, can you give us an idea how many of those books have been sold?
How many?
How many of those books have been sold, and you know, so far? Are you like? Can you give us some statistics
On my book?
Yeah.
So Amir, it's a very interesting, I would say, it's an interesting question. So what happens is the way books are, this thing works is that you give your books to publishers and various who give it to bookstores, and you don't have much visibility on what's going on, right?
Right.
So
So you
it's
only
too
find out
early.
after
I
a
mean,
year.
it's like 3 weeks. I may be able to give you some better idea about like 3 months down the lane, and it's a bit like, I would say, it doesn't work like in work. It works in Europe or America, that you probably know it every day what's going on. I can tell
Right.
you that the personal response was very good. I mean, people were like, you basically booked it on my own website. So
Right.
I can tell you that response I'm pretty happy about. But I don't know
Right.
what's happening at the various, for example, what's happening at Liberty Books. I have no idea. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. So just related to that question, I agree with your idea that you have to reach those readers on mobile apps, YouTube videos, and other mediums as well. And one powerful medium that has emerged is good documentaries. You have seen it on Netflix.
Ah,
People love it. People love Netflix. There are other apps and websites, And unfortunately, Pakistani people have not done. We have not done that documentary work. I think northern areas as a broad category, Gilgit, Hunza, and other forests, a lot of documentaries can be made on that. And have
yeah,
you
I
thought
think
about
so.
converting your book into a good documentary? Like doing it professional production, and walking around those places, and probably Steve guy who does documentaries in Europe. I don't know if you know it, but like really high level documentary stuff that you can probably sell to Netflix and other partners.
So, so Amir, I think I shared with you. I mean, I wouldn't call it a documentary or anything. I probably shared with you a video on, I think, yeah,
Right,
either Lawrence
right,
College
right, right.
or maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think you are talking about a different thing. Actually, you are talking about a documentary that is kind of like a Twitter clip kind of thing, 2 minutes or whatever.
No, 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 no.
So
I'm
that
talking
was
about
a
a
bit more marketing thing rather than,
sorry. I'm talking about a
you're
documentary
talking about a more documentary thing.
which is made for global audience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Which can be seen on
So I
Netflix.
think
Yeah.
we had a chat. Yeah, I think we had a chat about it before. I think very interesting idea. I had not thought about in the way you are mentioning it, but I think you have given me some food for thought on that
Right.
particular account, that whether I should do something at
and
that
and
level.
and,
Yeah.
and I'm sure since there are like thousands of descendants of those people who made those buildings, I'm sure it will resonate with European
Uh,
audience as well, right? Right, and you have to connect it with the
yeah,
British
I
and
completely
European.
agree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
and
agree.
there are
Completely
like
agree.
millions of people who are fond of those things. I mean, if you check up on YouTube documentaries like that, they get millions of views, right? At least 1 million or so. So there's a lot of audience. This beautiful architecture, this is A grade stuff, I can tell you.
Yeah. I think it completely doable and a brilliant idea, and I'll probably talk to you more about it. If
Yeah.
how should we do it? Yeah.
Right, right, definitely. So I think we're close to finishing. If some, yeah, Naima has a question. Okay, sorry. Naima always have brilliant questions. So Naima, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I have
Ji,
two
walaikum.
questions actually. So the first one is that apart from government support, what were the other challenges that you had to face in getting your data, in doing your research? And the second one is for how long you had to stay in Murree to complete your work.
So Naima, I didn't get your first question, but I was able to get your second question. So
The first question is
second
apart from no cooperation from government, what other challenges did you face during writing this book?
Yeah, so the other challenges were, I mean, the access was the biggest issue, that all these European schools and churches are a bit suspicious why somebody is trying to, is even interested in their in their particular place or in their area. So that access was definitely an issue. I think I tell people, and it's in my preface as well, where I tell people how to go about it. I say that if you have a good gender balanced team, then doors open for you. I mean, people are a bit more comfortable if they say that there are like men and women coming to watch us rather than just men. So that is one thing. And the other thing I think which I suffered was that Murree is like a hill. So in the evening, if you go, there would be a building. It would be pretty. Otherwise, it would be I mean, the sun would be in the skies, but because the building is at a certain angle, it would be in the dark. So you cannot take a picture right at that time. You have to go to a particular time to take a good photograph. So I'll actually confess that some of my photographs would not be of high quality, just because, I mean, how many times you will go to Murree, and at times you will go to at the right time, but it would be cloudy. So you will again not get a good picture. The best picture is obviously when the sun is like at the top. So that kind of small issues, but otherwise I loved Murree so much and I enjoyed my work so much that I wouldn't say that I was much bothered. And Naima, your second question, please.
Second was, how long did you stay at Murree? How long did you have to stay at Murree in total?
So I started in October 2015 when I went there for a week, and I started. But then it would be actually my kids are pretty fond of Murree now as well. So it was like countless trips, I would say. I mean, uh, by countless I mean at least once a month we will go there for 2 or 3 days. I'll stay there. I'll just walk around in the mornings, and so it continued for like 3 to 4 years. That kind of routine. I was based in Islamabad, so at that point in time, so it was a bit like easier. But even later, now I'm based in Lahore, so even now it's. But that's the way I kept on working it. So I was not like meeting a deadline. I just kept on doing it until I was a bit satisfied that now I can like throw it out. Yeah.
Okay, Moaz has another question.
I hope Moz is not making other enemies in the class by keeping people stay on. I love talking about Murree, so I'm okay with it.
By the way, this is a 2-hour
Well,
class.
sir,
We have till 9 p.m. right? Yeah.
I just have one really basic question. So if I were to visit Murree for 2 whole days as a traveler, which 4 to 5 places would you recommend me to visit?
So I would recommend if 4 to 5 places is a easy one, I would say. So one, you should see these cluster of hotels: Cecil, Brightlands, Lockwood. They are all close by. So one, that cluster you should see. Beautiful buildings inside out, teak wood, furniture is still there, Victorian furniture. You will love it. The other is I would recommend definitely, if you can, I mean, arrange, like somebody else mentioned, Fatma probably. If you can talk to someone, if you can visit Convent of Jesus and Mary, I would say it's worth visiting. Three, I would say Lawrence College is definitely worth visiting. Then I would say the ruins of Murree Brewery, excellent ruins. I would suggest going to at least Holy Trinity Church on the Mall. Uh, Definitely worth visiting. You will see. I mean, the Amir has there are so many interesting artifacts inside that church. So that is one. I would also suggest visiting a couple of forest rest houses to get a feel of what I'm talking about. I mean, unfortunately, you cannot really feel without going there that what I'm talking about really. So yeah, these are few. That was an easy one, I would say. But there are many more, so I can keep talking about it. Yeah.
By the way,
Thank
through
you.
your book, Mr. Umar, I realized your Lawrence College campus is huge. It's like, about like 100 acres. It's pretty much about the size of Lums. Am I right?
I'm not sure about 100 acres, but if it's written, it would be true. But it's huge. That's true.
Right.
I mean, Lums. Yeah, I think it should be if I understand Lams and if I've seen Lams properly, I think it's a hilly thing, but maybe it's close to the same area. Yeah, it's huge.
Okay, Mr. Raza now has a question.
ये पूछ रहा था मरी में कोई म्यूजियम्स हैं या नहीं?
Yeah, Raza, Murree mein, there was a museum in 2015, 16, 17. There was a place near Kashmir Point, the resource center, where actually now the Kosa University is, where there is a family in Murree, very respectable family, Dr. Farooq Khan's family. So they worked with the government. They tried to set something up in terms of old pieces of heritage and pictures. And for example, these purani laltan ya post masters ke uniforms ya letterboxes, but I'm not sure whether it's still there. So probably with time somebody just closed it off. There was a yes, but now there is a no to your answer, to your question. But that's a very interesting point that we should have.
Right. So much. A hill station, premier hill station of Pakistan, which has a lot of history, should have, I think, a large museum. Yeah, I think that's a good point. It should have, like, but I mean, to that point, I wanted to say, through your book, we found out that all the major parties in Pakistan, political parties in Pakistan, their leaders have connection to Murree. Imran Khan has been found in every rest house's logbook. Sharif's brothers have houses, and they've been fond of there as well. Bhutto and Benazir Bhutto and her sister, at least they stayed for 2 years in that school. So everybody is linked to that one place, right? So like it's and current government is paying a lot of attention to travel, and it has become better, right? I have, by the way, no political affiliation. I just make objective statements, and I think so they have connections, and everybody knows the value of this place. I think it's about time with evolution, with incremental changes, and I think this book in that sense is a good contribution. I had said goodbye to Murree. I think it was a done case for me, but this book has got put my attention to Murree one more time, right? I did not know it had so much history. I did not know that it was a quintessential European town in the subcontinent, right? Where natives weren't even allowed to walk on Mall Street, Mall Road, right? And it's an important piece of history. Like, as a historian, it tells me something about our place, and I'm sort of so like, this is a very important hill station, and thank you for that contribution, Mr. Umar. And no matter what you think, I mean, I'm sure when you would be writing, a lot of people, or you would be second guessing yourself, that there will not be audience for such kind of book. But I can tell you, people are wrong, right? And even mobile app developers and also sometimes think there's an idea is a small niche, probably they would not find the people, but you would be surprised once you put a good thing out there. There's always some few people, and significant number of people, a couple of hundred or thousand people who become a deep fans, and they sort of propagate that idea, and an idea, it sparks a new revolution, so to speak. So I think in that direction, and that's a good thing to tell my students as well. Don't think any idea is small. As an app developer, as a creator, I can see if there's one person who's happy from my product, that's all I want, right? And so you should continue to sort of explore those ideas, and and in that sense, I want to really thank Mr. Umar, and I'm hoping that he will pay attention to cities like Karachi and Lahore and document through. And this book is a unique contribution. I like a history book to have pictures in them, right? And I want a pictorial book of Karachi as well, and Lahore. Lahore is easy because you have your history in one place. In Karachi, it's interspersed in different areas, so much so that people don't realize it. There's a lot of historical buildings in Karachi. I've taken pictures of a few, and I will send to all of you on WhatsApp. But there's a lot of history, and I would expect another book follow up.
Yeah, sure, Amir. Fingers crossed. I think more than Lahore, I would be interested probably in Karachi, because Karachi is a bit like a, what should I call? I don't know about it. So I would
Yeah.
rather do something which I know very less about rather than Lahore, where I at times feel that already a lot has been written. I don't know what I would do. But Karachi, I'm definitely more intrigued. Yeah.
Yeah. Where I'm sitting right close to, walking distance from here, Sir Abdullah Haroon, Qaid Azam, Farer, all these great people used to live here. They have bungalows. Most of those bungalows, some of those bungalows are still there. And luckily now, still after 2014 laws, Punjab has those laws. Some of those surviving buildings, nobody can touch them because they're protected by law. So we have a lot of history here, within close proximity of this place, and that would be great if you write a book like that. And let me know. I would like to help with that as well, because it's becoming increasingly becoming my passion and interest, area of interest. Because I think you can understand people of Pakistan, our history through those colonial times, and you can, once you understand it, you can probably think of solutions and think of undoing those things, right? Once you have to, first you have to understand those things. So I think,
completely agree.
Do you have anything at the end? Do you have any suggestion, anything to say to the students before you go?
Just one thing, and very brief, Amir, that I think there are so many young people here. I think बाहर भी घूमें और बिल्कुल दुनिया सारी बड़ी अच्छी है और one should travel and travel as much and without any restriction. But हमारे मुल्क में भी बहुत अच्छी जगह हैं, तो try, I mean, if I am able to make even one of you visit Murree and try to explore it, I think, as Amir said, that my job is done.
Right.
That's all my mission is, that making people explore Murree and other places for sure.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you all the students for their time. Thank you, Mr. Omar, for your time. I would put this video on YouTube and share the link with everyone. We'll make it public. We'll try to and I would advise all of you to share it on your social media, so that this whole movement, a lot of people get to know about this amazing work. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Amir. Take care.